Hey guys, my name is Emily and today I'm going to be going over my August reading wrap up, which includes 8 books that I've read this month, and I'm pretty proud of myself for finishing 8 books. It isn't quite as much as last month, but still nonetheless, I am happy with that number for sure. The first book that I read this month is a novella by Frederick Bachman called And Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer. This novella is about an elderly man who is starting to forget things about his life, and he's trying to hold on to those memories while still explaining everything to his grandson, hoping that he can get him to understand what he's going through and say goodbye in a way. I ended up giving this novella a 3.5 stars out of 5 because I did feel attached to characters enough to make me actually cry, even though I was only reading about them for a short amount of time. I still feel like I didn't get as much out of it as a lot of other people have, but I still enjoyed the book and I would still recommend it. The next 2 books I have read this month are by Ellen Hildebrand, and the first one is Barefoot. Barefoot is about these 3 women who end up going to Nantucket Island, and you know going into the book that one of them has an illness, one of them has been having an affair with a student, and the third one is pregnant with her husband's baby after finding out that he cheated on her. And so these 3 women are going to this Nantucket Island to just basically cope with what they're dealing with, be there for each other, and try to get through their issues. This wasn't my favorite by Ellen Hildebrand. I would have liked to see a little bit more drama, but that's just me because I love drama in books. I did still really like the family dynamic and the relationship dynamics and everything that was going on in this book, so I would definitely still recommend this if you're looking for a summer read, or really anything that is by Ellen Hildebrand or something about relationships and drama and that kind of thing. The second book by Ellen Hildebrand that I read in the month of August is The Castaways, and this is going to be the last book of hers that I'm going to be reading for quite a bit. I want to take a little break from her books since I read quite a few of them this summer. If you want to hear me talk about any of the other books that I've read, you can go check my other reading wrap-ups. I'm still thinking about reading her winter books this coming winter, but as for now, this will be the last summer book by her that I read, probably until next summer. I did enjoy this book a bit more than Barefoot, and I found it to be a bit different from her other books. It dealt with these 4 different couples that were all in a friend group called the Castaways, and one of the couples ends up dying, and there's kind of a mystery surrounding the husband and wife's death and the secrets that they both had that each other didn't know about, as well as the secrets that the rest of the friend group has, and their relationships are all kind of interwoven with each other. There's affairs going on, there's secrets, and there's a lot of drama in this book. I would recommend this, not necessarily for anyone looking for a summer read, because that isn't a big aspect of this book, surprisingly, compared to her other novels. It really is more focused on the relationships of the characters. There was still that mystery aspect in here, trying to discover what happened to the husband and wife that died, so that kept me invested, and overall I enjoyed the book, so I gave this one a 3.5 stars out of 5. The next book I read this month was Forbidden by Tabitha Suzuma. And I had this book on my to-be read list for quite a while, and I finally decided to pick it up because I was looking for something kind of different to break through the mold of all the summer reads that I was reading. So I picked this one up, and I knew going into it that it dealt with incest, and that isn't something I've read too much about before. So that kind of intrigued me, and I wanted to see how the story dealt with it. And I will say that this is very much a story about incest, so if that is something you're not comfortable reading about, then definitely by all means, don't read it. I won't give any spoilers about what's going to happen in this book away, but the main premises of it is 2 siblings end up falling in love with each other as they're dealing with a lot of problems that their family has, such as neglect and just being basically in charge of their household because there isn't a prominent parental figure. I wouldn't exactly say that this book is gory or gruesome or anything like that, but there are some darker things that happen in this book as a warning for anyone who is really sensitive to dark things being discussed in books. I did end up giving this book a 3.5 stars out of 5. I didn't see the ending coming. I appreciated the social anxiety representation in this book, if that's something you're looking forward to. If that stuff appeals to you, then I would give this one a try. The next 2 books I read this month are part of the It Girl series, starting with Unforgettable, which is the 4th book in the series. I don't want to give too much away about what happens in these books because it is part of the series, so I don't want to spoil anything that comes before or after these books, but basically in this book there is kind of more of a focus on Jenny and her relationship with her roommate Callie as they're struggling with their feelings for a guy, as well as another character discovering their sexuality. And this book, I did feel like there was a lot of drama. Of course, that is what I love. There are a lot of secrets getting exposed and that kind of thing. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars, and I would recommend this series in general for anyone who loves drama like I do, or anything regarding that interwoven relationships, high school problems, that kind of stuff. Right after finishing this one, I moved right on to Lucky, which is the 5th book in the It Girl series. Lucky focuses on the main characters as they're basically dealing with stress of knowing that one of them is facing expulsion because of an event that happened in the last book. I would have liked to see more Kinsley in this book, and I didn't enjoy it as much as Unforgettable, so I gave this one a 3.5 stars out of 5, but overall I'm still enjoying the series. This book marks me halfway through the It Girl series, and hopefully I'll be able to finish the series before the end of this year, and I'm definitely looking forward to it and looking forward to the second half of the series and seeing how everything ends. The next book I read this month was After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid, who is quickly becoming one of my all-time favorite authors. This book focuses on the relationship between Lauren and Ryan, who have been married for a few years, but they decide to take a break and decide if they still want to be together since their marriage seems to be falling apart. That seems like a simple plot, but in reality, this book, oh my goodness, I love this. Even as simple as it seems, it's still so good. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. It is my second favorite book by her after The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. If you also really enjoyed 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Daisy Jones and the Six, her really popular books, I would definitely recommend that you pick up her less popular books because these ones are still so good. Especially this one, I would definitely recommend this one. This was so good. I cried, I was attached to the characters, I loved the relationship between them and their personalities and what they do in this book. It's just great. So if you haven't read this one, go pick it up. The last book I read this month is Room by Emma Donoghue, and wow. Well done, Emma Donoghue. This book was so good. I gave this a 4.5 stars out of 5, which is the highest rating that I gave this month. And I read this as an audiobook, which is how I would definitely recommend you guys to read this if you can, because it is a completely different experience. The book is told from the perspective of a 5-year-old boy, and he's basically living his life in this room. It's where he was born, it's where he's been living. He's never gotten out of this room, and this is all he knows because this is all he's seen, and he's in here with his mom. Even though this book is narrated by a 5-year-old child, you can still see the frustration that the mom is going through, and you can understand her perspective of what she feels in this situation, even though it's not even being told by her perspective, which the author just did an amazing job with. I love this book, and the only reason I didn't give it a 5 out of 5 stars is because the first half of the book was a little bit better for me than the second half. The ending was still really good. I cried throughout the book. It was amazing, but there was a little bit of a downhill curve for me. But regardless of that, I still love the book, and I would still recommend this to literally everybody. If you have not watched the movie, I would really recommend listening to the audiobook if you can, or just read the book and then watch the movie, because there are things that you will pick up on that you won't necessarily know about if you haven't read the book. All right, so that wraps up my August wrap up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know down below if you've read any of these books, and I would love to know your thoughts on them. If you are looking to hear my thoughts on my other books that I've read this year so far, you can go ahead and check out my reading wrap up playlist, which I will have somewhere here. I have really been enjoying making videos, and hopefully I can continue to make many more. I have a lot of ideas coming up, and I am going to be moving for school, so I might be a little bit busy here and there, but I will still try my best to get videos out for you as I am getting back into my school schedule. If you would like to, you can go ahead, leave a like, a comment, or even subscribe if you feel so inclined, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks. Bye. God bless.